All right, we are live. Good evening, everybody. We have a tornado that has been confirmed on the ground outside Marthasville right now. I mean, this is on the ground as we speak. You can see with this tornado debris signature right here, just outside of Marthasville. This is moving into that area as we speak right now. Uh, we'll go ahead and bring up a dual view of our debris tracker overlaid with a rotation. And you'll notice there's not really a well defined signature on this velocity reading over here on the right side. However, we do have a confirmed debris ball hanging out just outside Marthasville, and we're going to watch and see how radar data updates over the next few minutes. I'll give you a reflectivity view of this. And this is just embedded right in this little area of really seemingly unorganized precipitation just outside Marthasville. But as tornado has been observed, I'm guessing visually. Let's see. Radar confirmed tornado. Okay, so it has yet to be confirmed visually, but National Weather Service St. Louis says a tornado is on the ground based on a debris signature on radar. So we're going to be tracking this over the next couple of minutes as it pushes into the St. Louis area, specifically moving towards O'Fallon, Chesterfield, St. Peters, St. Charles, and that'll be over the next probably 30 minutes to an hour. We'll go ahead and time that out for you, actually. Um, National Weather Service is tracking this at 55 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and time this whole line out for you, because this entire line stretching all the way up from almost Bowling Green down to Wright City and into Washington and even down towards Union is moving about 55 miles an hour off to the east-northeast. We'll track this all the way through St. Louis. If you're in Wentzville, you've got probably 10 to 15 minutes at this point before this impacts your general area. Lake St. Louis, you're looking about 15 minutes. O'Fallon, roughly 20 minutes. Chesterfield, you're probably going to be in the southern end of this potential, but we do want to watch in case anything further down the line towards Washington starts to spin up, because that is also warned as well. Troy, you've got about 15 minutes on this leading edge, and that's actually just shrink down just a little bit more. St. Charles, you're looking about 30 minutes at this point. So we're going to track this as it moves into the St. Louis area again. Radar confirmed tornado on the ground. This is moving just through Marthasville. We'll go ahead and pull up that debris tracker once again and see if we can get that debris ball. Saw that again. And we'll bring up reflectivity alongside and just show you where this is. So this debris ball is right in here. Again, a fairly weak area of reflectivity on radar. However, this was the debris that National Weather Service was tracking at least a couple of minutes ago. So hopefully that tornado has lifted at this point. I'll go ahead and bring back the radar data just a couple of minutes to show you exactly what we're looking at. So you can see here, it looks like the tornado touches down just outside of New Haven, right on top of Highway 100, and pushes across the river. You can see a very, very nice defined little debris ball right there. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. Very nice little debris ball at that point, and it tracks off, just barely missing Marthasville. Uh, Anybody knows Izzy Glossmeyer's number, you might want to give her and her family a call just to make sure they're all right, because that looks like it tracked pretty close to them. And also hit up Garrett, make sure that they're all okay up there. But at the moment, it looks like there is still debris being lifted aloft. I'm not sure if the tornado was still on the ground at this time. Um, but again, our area where we're watching is this ball right here. That was a confirmed tornado on the ground by the National Weather Service via radar. So we'll see. We'll see if surveys confirm that it was on the ground. Hopefully it was not. Hopefully this is a false signature. But at the moment, it does look like there was debris being lifted aloft, at least briefly. So again, we're going to want to track this out over the next few minutes. We just had a new severe thunderstorm warning issued from Marthasville out to O'Fallon and towards St. Charles into the Illinois border. Has tornado possible tag and winds up to 60 miles an hour. We'll go ahead and just keep an eye on this northern tornado warning as well outside of Warrenton. I was just about to go live for this as well before that radar confirmed tornado occurred down south. This storm doesn't look like it has any sort of debris ball on it. We'll go ahead and bring up velocity and kind of show you again where we're looking at some of these risks. Get out of here. So here is that Marthasville cell down here, really not a well-defined rotation signature. This is where we're watching up here, specifically along this line where we could have any sort of brief spin-up tornado along any one of these points along the line and push off to the east. So that's what we're going to be watching for that cell in particular. Marthasville is much less defined as far as signature goes. However, there was a radar confirmed tornado on the ground, at least briefly, on that cell. So we're going to keep watching that and make sure it doesn't continue to hold that signature. It looks like the storm is very weak. I'm surprised that there is even a signature able to be brought up on that. Actually, I'm going to roll back the velocity real quick. I just want to look and see what all happened. Yeah, you can actually see down here, you can see that two rotation signatures actually, just brief spin-ups as they cross over the river, and you can see they're rapidly weakened. So I'm willing to bet at this point that those velocity signatures that we're seeing are corresponding with, or not the velocity, excuse me, the debris signatures that we were seeing aloft, which look like they've dissipated quite a bit by now, were probably just fallout from that tornado. So debris such as branches, maybe some roof shingles or something like that, still being lifted aloft long enough to be shown downwind of that tornado. So it looks like that has lifted at this point, which is a very good thing because it's moving towards much higher populated area downstream. But we're going to continue to monitor this as we go over the next couple of minutes. Really want to pay attention to the southern end of this line of storms up towards Warrenton. You notice we do have a little bit of an inflow notch into that southern flank of that. We're going to wait and see if that ends up developing anything. It likely won't, but again, we just want to make sure nothing happens. Again, you can still see that inflow reflected on velocity and a little bit higher velocity distinction there. Also note the stronger velocity signature up to the north. I believe, if I'm looking right, that's probably going to be 50 to 60 mile an hour. Yeah, roughly. There's probably an error there, but I'm saying somewhere in 60 to 70 mile an hour winds on radar for that specific part of the cell. So keep an eye on that. If you are anywhere from Wright City, south and into Troy, all the way over to Moscow Hills, Wentzville, St. Paul, and over to the Mississippi River, keep an eye on this cell as it approaches you, roughly 55 miles an hour. So fairly quick moving cells, pretty quick in and outs for the region. We will continue to track that over the next couple of minutes. I'm just trying to get some extra information, see if there's any reports coming in on if there was a confirmed tornado on the ground, because we did have that radar signature. Radar, while normally it is right, can have some flaws in it. It looks like there was at least a brief tornado on the ground. I just want to see if I can get any reports or pictures to bring up to show you all exactly what happened. Again, if you know anybody between New Haven and Marthasville, specifically between New Haven, Dundee, up towards the little hamlet of Piers and over towards Marthasville, give them a call, make sure they're all right. Check, make sure there's no significant damage out that way. we got a new scan. Actually, we're going to look really closely at this Wright City cell here. I know it says radar indicated tornado, but notice we do have a little bit of a rotation couplet. It is weak at the moment, and I'm waiting to see if we can get an update on radar just to show any sort of update there. However, at the very least on reflectivity, we can see much more pronounced inflow notch into that southern flank there, which inflow bringing warm, moist air and energy into the cell, specifically into updraft, and we can kind of see with that little bit of a hook shape, there might be a little bit of rotation on the updraft of that cell. So we're going to watch that, see if that continues to develop downhill along Interstate 70 towards Wentzville and St. Paul over to the Mississippi River. So that's the cell we're watching, and it looks like the storm that had produced that weak tornado outside of New Haven, Marthasville, has dissipated and fallen really rapidly apart, and looks like the remnants of that are just a weak line segment, a weak squall line that is moving off to the east, about to move through Labadie and Grace Summit and Villa Ridge as we speak. So our main focus is now shifting north towards Wright City, Wentzville, and Troy, mainly for that damaging wind risk, but there is also the potential that a tornado could develop on this. Again, it is tornado warned, so if you are in any of these areas with a tornado warning, shy of Marthasville, New Haven, you guys are in the clear at this point. If you're up towards Wright City, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. It means go into your basement, center room of your house, away from exterior walls or windows, get as low down to the ground as you can get. That is what you should be doing right now. And I would even say off towards Wentzville, you might want to do the same thing. Even though you're not in a warning yet, I would advise moving towards your safe place right now. And even St. Paul, Moscow Mills, you probably north enough to be fine, but also take that precaution as well. These are fast moving storms, and we don't really want to mess around with them this evening because there have been so many uh, tornadoes already just across the Midwest alone. We actually have another area of rotation that's really become more notable towards Troy at this time. You can see here on radar a much better, as soon as we can get this out of the way, get out of here. You can really see a very well defined rotation couplet on the south side of Troy. So if you know anybody or are in Troy right now or anywhere east of there, you need to take your immediate tornado precaution. Again, getting to your basement or a center part of your house is going to be your best bet to avoid any of these. And I'm not seeing much potential for a strong tornado at this point in the evening, but we are again tracking tornado risk, and we should treat any tornado as if it could have life threatening impacts. And if nothing else, could cause significant damage to your home or your property. So keep that in mind. Get to that safe place again. We want to make sure everybody's making it through tonight all right. We'll go ahead and bring up our debris tracker just to make sure nothing is on the ground, and I do not see at least any notable debris field. Now just walk that back real quick just to make sure. There's a little bit of noise on radar, but nothing indicating a tornado on the ground at this time, so which is a good thing. And you can actually see right here where this would be indicated, and we just had an extension on that warning. So if you were in Moscow Mills, off towards the small towns of Winfield, Cap Au Gris, Batchtown, over all the way to the Mississippi River, basically between Troy and the Mississippi River off to that east-northeast side, you should be moving to your tornado shelter right now. This is a rapidly evolving and strengthening storm moving just through Troy at this time. And we'll go ahead and get the latest data. We do not have any confirmation of a tornado on the ground at this time. I'm just waiting for new data at this point. It looks like we got a new frame, and it looks like this rotation couplet has continued to maintain itself and is going to continue moving off towards the small town of Winfield, and even off towards Argentville, Parker's Park. It's a nice name. In that east-northeasterly direction. Troy, at this time, you're likely in the clear. You're just going to have some gusty winds at this point. That is going to be your main risk for now. But other than that, you should be fine. We're going to go ahead and map out where the storm will be time-wise. Again, we'll just confirm. Cell's moving about 50 miles an hour according to the National Weather Service. And we will, oh, that's not right. We'll bring this whole line, maybe, whole line from almost Bowling Green, Moscow Mills, down through Wentzville, down almost to Labadie, and we'll move that off to the northeast. Hang on a second, I'm actually going to alter that down. Now we'll keep it at 55. So if you're in Moscow Mills, you're just on the leading edge of this. You need to be in your safe place right now. Fountain Lakes, Winfield, Batchtown, Folly, these small towns. If you know folks out that general direction, give them a call, make sure that they're all right. Tell them to get to their safe place right now as the storm is continuing to develop. But if you're in Troy, you are likely all right at this point. Rotation is likely moved off to your east. Just beware of any gusty winds and some heavy rain for the next few minutes. All right, we'll take a look back down south just to check and make sure nothing else has a chance of spinning up along this line here. And nothing really sticks out shy of maybe some weak low-level circulations. Nothing is sticking out all that much. So a big focus at the moment is on this northern cell just outside of Troy. And eventually we'll get an update to our debris tracker. We'll be able to walk you through that a little better. Mr. Potato Man, there was a few minutes ago a tornado just outside of New Haven. You can see here on our debris tracker, nice little concentrated area of debris that moved off towards Marthasville. I believe it lifted by the time it reached that area. But if you can give anybody you know out there, I know Izzy, Glossmeyer, and Garrett are out in that general direction. If you could give them a call, just make sure they're fine. That'd be appreciated. But aside from that, nothing else has touched down, at least in the past few minutes. We're tracking a storm up towards Troy. For anybody who's joining, we're tracking a couple of tornadic storms just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, along this line of storms that has been dissipating over the past couple hours as it moved across the state. Over in Illinois, up towards Chicago, kind of along that I-55 corridor and east, there are several storms that are still producing tornadoes. You can see outside of, where is this, Urbana? My pronunciation is probably wrong on that. There is an observed tornado on the ground out in that direction as well. But we are watching specifically outside of Troy right now, just making sure that there isn't a tornado on the ground in that direction. If you're in Wentzville at this time, you're probably in the clear as far as any tornadic activity goes. And I would say really any severe weather as well. It looks like a lot of the structure on this cell, this line segment moving into O'Fallon and Wentzville has fallen apart. So if you're out that way, you're probably in the clear for at least the next few minutes. Not really any well-defined wind on that as well. So you're probably fine, but do keep an eye on the cells as they progress eastward, especially in case they re-intensify towards St. Peter's or St. Charles. So if you're out in that direction, keep an eye on that. And I'd say even in St. Louis, just watch these storms in case they do decide to revamp. But taking a look back now outside Moscow Hills, we do have a new frame to look at on velocity. You can see, again, very, very nice inflow and outflow on this rotation couplet. There's a very tight rotation signature right there. And that has continued to show itself over the past couple of frames. We'll walk you back through that just to give you an idea. Really started spinning up just outside of Troy down here, and as it moved to the northeast, just on the very south side of Troy, the north side of Moscow Mills, that has continued to show that it is a strong storm. Definitely one to be watching closely. At this time, I'm not seeing any sort of debris on radar in this area. It has been a couple of minutes since this has updated, so we'll see if that continues in the next scan to come out. But at the moment, it looks like this cell just outside of Troy, as lopsided as it is still maintaining itself as a potential tornado producer over the next few minutes. So we're going to keep watching that, and also just keep watching the rest of this line in case anything else decides to have a brief spin up on it. Again, we've already seen one really quick, brief one. It did cause some damage from the looks of it, at least on radar. Again, this was just outside of New Haven. Not a really well-defined signature by any means. However, a brief tornado was able to touch down, and that's really what we're watching all up and down this line over the next few minutes. So we'll watch and see. Down towards Pacific, I am noticing, actually along this entire line, a couple of little inflow notches, and I'll go ahead and point them out to you. Um, right just South Pacific, this one down here, maybe another weak one here, and then it's kind of hard to tell because of noise from the radar, but maybe one just outside of Chesterfield as well. Any of these, if they do gain enough traction and enough spin, they could end up producing a weak tornado further down the line towards more populated parts of St. Louis. I'll go ahead and track that out for you here in just a moment, but I do want to take a look up north here, just make sure nothing has happened with this cell outside of Moscow Mills. Go ahead and look at velocity, no update there, and still nothing on the debris tracker at this time. Okay, we're going to take a look back down here, get an eye on velocity. We do have a couple of areas to watch just outside the small town of Katowice. Actually, we just got an update. All right, again, that area outside of Pacific, we're watching that. It looks like there is a little bit of an enhanced area of low-level rotation on that, and maybe a couple of pockets all the way up towards Chesterfield. So if you're anywhere, I would say anywhere along this line, extending all the way from kind of Robertsville area up to the radar site in Weldon Springs, anywhere here and east into the metropolitan area of St. Louis. If you're in that area or if you know anybody in that area, give them a call because this could be a potentially tornadic line if it continues to strengthen over the next few minutes, which it does look like it's starting to gain a little bit of traction on that leading edge. So keep that in mind if you're in that area. We just want to make sure folks are staying safe with this storm system, especially given how quickly it's moving and how rapidly evolving all the storms along it are. We'll go back up to Moscow Mills real quick, just get another eye on this cell. I want to keep watching this. The good news is it looks like this rotation area has broadened quite a bit. It looks significantly weaker from the last scan, which is a good thing. The question is, though, is there any debris being lifted aloft by any potential tornado? And at this time, it does not look like anything is on the ground. Again, very good thing. Even though this is often kind of a more rural area, we still want to mitigate any risk of life threat or property threat. So it does look like that storm is starting to fall apart just a little bit, which is again a good thing. Still have to watch it in case it does regain a little bit of traction and puts down a weak tornado. Again, that one that was just outside of New Haven not too long ago did not have that strong of a signature, and yet it was still able to produce some damage based on radar. So we just want to keep an eye on this in case any brief spin-ups do end up being produced along this line. So real quick, we'll go ahead. I want to check to see how fast these storms are moving once again. But once we have an idea of that, we'll track this storm out for the rest of the area. It does look like it is slowing down. We'll go ahead and map that out for y'all real quick. And we'll do all the way from Pacific all up this line. Actually, you know what we're going to do. We're going to do that a little better. Excuse me. Actually, it works out perfectly. We do have a new scan on reflectivity. All right, Chesterfield, you're about 10 minutes out from this storm line impacting you. Weldon Springs, it's on top of you. St. Charles, you're looking at probably 15 to 20 minutes at this point. Maryland Heights, about 20 minutes as well. Kirkwood, you're looking about 20 to 25 minutes. And downtown St. Louis, for any frame of reference, you're looking about 30 to 35 minutes likely at this point. With this latest scan, it does look like the cell that was near Troy, moving off to the Mississippi River right now, is significantly weaker. We'll go ahead and pull up a velocity signature for you, and we can see here that it is a lot weaker. There is no really well hang on, give me just 1 second. There is no really well-defined area rotation anymore on this line. Again, a really good thing, but we're still going to monitor it in case something does decide to re-strengthen and spin up along that area. But further south, you can notice just south of Eureka now, this element of the line is looking a lot more distinct as well. Again, we're watching for any brief spin-ups anywhere from Cedar Hill Lakes all the way up to that Wildwood area, just in case something could briefly spin up. Nothing is too strong at this time. However, we're going to keep watching it in case something does manage to build itself up, and it does look like that line has been strengthening at least a little bit over the past few minutes. So we're going to track that as we move off towards St. Louis. But it does look like storms are at least a little weaker as of now, which is again a good thing. I'm curious to see if the National Weather Service watches any sort of tornado warning down south over the next few minutes if these storms continue to develop. We'll go ahead over to the debris tracker real quick just to make sure nothing extravagant is happening up north. Go ahead, just make sure that's nothing. Yeah, that's nothing up there. And it doesn't look like anything down south either, which is again a good thing. Means our tornado risk is shifting down, one could say, at the moment, at least across Missouri. And we'll just kind of zoom out at a broader picture. We do have our cells outside of Missouri along this broken line segment extending all the way down into Oklahoma. There are a couple of severe storms continuing, excuse me, along this line as it pushes off to the east-northeast and further east into the state overnight. Further east towards Chicago, Urbana, and getting close to the Indiana-Illinois border, we do have a number of cells that are still tornado warned out that way. We'll bring you up on radar for those. The Urbana cell, last I checked, was tornado observed, which are still on there, but everything else appears to be radar indicated with 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts as that severe weather threat on there as well. I'm curious how the Urbana cell is looking real quick. We are a little far from a radar site, but you can tell there is at least a little bit of weak rotation in there at this time. It doesn't look like there's any tornado on the ground at this moment, which is a good thing. So anybody out there, you should be fine. We'll come back to the St. Louis region and keep an eye on these cells out here. Looks like we do have a new scan for the area. And again, these cells up just about across the Mississippi River, north of O'Fallon at this point. Those are looking significantly weaker. We'll wait and see if we can get a new scan on the velocity. And correlation coefficient, or the debris tracker, sorry, is also looking like it is clear at this point too. So good things all around at this point. Again, if you are in this tornado warning, there's still potential for a tornado to touch down. We need to treat every warning, no matter how weak, as if something can happen. We just saw with that New Haven cell about 30 minutes ago, there was a tornado confirmed on the ground for that area. So anything weak, even if it is weak, anything rotation-wise, we still want to treat as though a tornado could come from it. Which is why we're still live watching the storm system as it pushes through the area. With that new scan, you can see a little bit of kind of an interesting area of rotation embedded in this line just out of Winfield, and this rather interesting French sounding town here. It is about to cross the river into Illinois at this time, so if you're anywhere out in that direction or on the Illinois side, you might want to keep an eye on this cell as it pushes east towards y'all. But at the moment, it does not look like any tornado is on the ground, at least based on radar indicated debris. There's nothing being lifted aloft per this last scan. So that's up there. We'll go ahead and look down the line towards Wildwood. Wildwood at this point, you're in the clear. Eureka, you're in the clear. Burns Mill, Sunset Hills, Baldwin Town and Country, you guys are coming up next on this line. Again, it's not severe warned, it's not tornado warned. We're just watching to see if any brief areas of small rotation could end up producing a brief weak tornado. Again, as we just saw outside of Marthasville and New Haven. So we do have a little bit of a signature up there, maybe a brief one there, or maybe a weak one out there. Sorry, weak on all three of those areas. Those are kind of our bigger points, especially this Burns Mill one and this one up north between Eureka and Wildwood. Nothing too significant on them, but they are areas of potential development, especially this Burns Mill one. This one's kind of interesting. We'll keep an eye on it going forward. It could just be a little bit of outflow, but given how lumpy this line looks, I mean, you can see here all these different inflow notches into this broken line segment. We're just watching real carefully in case anything decides to strengthen even a little bit and do a little bit of a quick spin up tornado. We'll go ahead and track the line out for you once again, assuming it wants to do it. This is likely going to be a little bit out ahead of where this actually is, so bear with me. St. Louis, you're probably about 30 minutes outside of the downtown area from seeing this southern line move through you. Up north, the storms, storms outside of, hang on, experiencing technical difficulties. The storms that are moving across the Mississippi River will probably be in Jerseytown in roughly 20 to 30 minutes. Sunset Hills, you're about 10 minutes out, 10 to 15 at this point. Arnold, you're probably far enough south where you don't have to worry about town and country. Just keep an eye on it. Kirkwood, Clayton, just watch this. Again, it looks a little bit weaker in this new scan, actually, which, again, is a good thing. We'll wait for velocity to update, but overall, it does look like there is a lot less structural informalities on this leading edge of the line. And up north, for the cell that is crossing over into Illinois, it does look a lot weaker as well. Just make sure nothing visible. And no notable debris at the very least on that cell just crossing over the Mississippi River. Not even really a rotation couplet up there. Go ahead and walk you down the line once again just to show you. Outside Burns Mill, there is still a little bit of a very weak low level couplet. Nothing's really happening on it. And again, up here towards Manchester, another broader area, but again, nothing too significant to worry about at this point, which again, really good. It shows these cells might be weakening, which is something we did want to see versus them strengthening and producing. So it's a good thing. Depending on how this cell evolves over the next few minutes, we'll probably go off the air. I just wanted to cover the supercell that moved through New Haven and produced that tornado between New Haven and Marthasville. So if anybody does end up having Wright City area, all right, Joe's Graveyard, Battle Droid, thank you for sending that. Wright City, hang on, Wright City, you're in the clear as of now. Walk it back for you. For that cell that did end up producing the New Haven tornado, y'all looked pretty fine. We'll go ahead and walk it back anyhow just to show what it looked like as it was pushing through. Kind of nice rotation signature, but since then it has moved out to the east, just to let y'all know. And it doesn't look like at that time there was any debris on that cell in particular. Just clarify, yeah, everything looked fine on radar for that cell, which is again a good thing. So Wright City, you are all in the clear at this point. And I would say, hang on, we'll go ahead and get this up to date here. There we go. I would say anywhere for this northern cell, if you're on the Missouri side, you're probably in the clear at this point. St. Peter's, you're in the clear. Down towards Wildwood, Eureka, you're also fine. as of now, and it looks like this newest radar scan is confirming that everything is a lot more linear on this northern cell. Really not watching any areas of rotation at this point as it moves into Illinois. St. Charles, go ahead and wait for a newest velocity scan. But at this point, most everything is looking pretty weak. So we'll probably end up going off the air here in just a few minutes. I just want to make sure that nothing else is going to briefly spin up, which again has been that risk tonight. So as we wait for this new scan to come in, let's go ahead and check our debris tracker just briefly. Make sure nothing's on the ground up north. Yeah, nothing looks like it's doing much of anything. So once we get this new scan, which it looks like we do have that new debris tracker, nothing on it as of now. Still waiting on that velocity scan. Okay. Very broad, if anything, down here towards Parkdale. I'd say that's probably nothing at this point. Outside Town and Country and Baldwin, off towards Valley Park, Fenton, a little bit of an enhanced area of low-level stuff, but really it's not a whole lot of anything. Nothing worth worrying about at this point. And I will note the National Weather Service did just remove that tornado warning for that northern cell. So we're going to go off the air here in just a moment. But if you are in downtown St. Louis, just keep an eye on this weaker line of cells that moves towards you over the next 30 minutes or so. Uh, not thinking anything is going to happen. It looks like it's mostly outflow from a weakened cell in the past at this point. But do keep an eye on it just in case something brief decides to spin up on it. And as for the cell up north, if you are towards Jerseyville, Godfrey, out towards Bunker Hill, Carlinville, uh, again, keep an eye on this broken line segment as it moves towards you. There is potential it could strengthen again before it reaches you. However, any chances of that happening are pretty low to none at this point. But do keep an eye on it just in case it does happen to. Um, and really on this entire line, keep an eye on things. I'll give you one more good look at the timing of this entire line before I head out. Tracking again off to the east northeast. St. Louis, you're looking probably 20 to 25 minutes at this point. Clayton, about 15 minutes. Jerseyville, you're looking probably closer to 30 minutes right now. Edwardsville, about 40 minutes now. So if you're anywhere in this line in the next 40 minutes, keep an eye on it. It's probably going to continue to weaken, but we do want to continue to monitor it, especially for 60-mile-an-hour winds on any of these segments that do decide to become severe. So with that said, thank you for tuning in, everybody who did end up coming in. Just as a kind of recap towards the end, we did cover a weak tornado out towards the New Haven area and Marthasville area a few minutes ago. Again, we'll show that for you. If you do know anybody out in that general area, do give them a call. Make sure they're all right, because it was a little tight area debris, but debris nonetheless that was being lifted aloft as shown on radar. So we want to make sure that everybody out in that general area was all right. So with that said, I'll be leaving it here, folks. Everybody have a safe rest of the evening and a safe rest of your weekend. And goodbye.